Beginning, the arena of stars. The twin suns of Avaris Prime hung low over the crystalline skyline, their light refracting through glass towers like blades of fire. Beneath them, millions gathered in the celestial arena, the heart of the Avarian Empire, to witness yet another spectacle, one that blurred the line between honor and humiliation. At the center of the arena knelt Lady Serath Veyra, once a noble commander in the Empire's high fleet, now disgraced and stripped of her sigil. Her silver armor lay shattered beside her, its luster dulled by sand and shame. Around her, the alien nobles, radiant beings of cobalt skin and luminous eyes, whispered venomous words. She led an entire fleet into defeat, one sneered. Her arrogance cost us 3 moons, another hissed. She is no longer Avarian. She is dirt. Serath said nothing. She'd already endured the mock trials, the jeering crowds, the loss of her title and command. But today was different. This was her public denouncement before the Imperial Eye, broadcast across 1,000 worlds. She looked up as the High Chancellor descended from his levitating throne, a tall figure cloaked in obsidian and pride. Serath Veyra, he proclaimed, his voice booming, you have dishonored the Avarian bloodline. For your failure, your name shall be erased from the stellar records. You will live among the discarded, the groundborn. Gasps rippled through the arena. The groundborn were slaves, outcasts who toiled beneath the Empire's towers, the lowest of the low. Serath clenched her fists, her pulse thrumming. I fought for Avaris, she said, voice cracking but strong. I bled for her. The Chancellor sneered. Then bleed some more. He turned his back to her, and laughter erupted, cruel, ringing, merciless. 1,000 nobles mocking the fallen commander who had once led fleets that darkened suns. And that was when she saw him, a single human standing at the far edge of the platform, among the servants. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wrapped in plain black armor that bore no insignia. His name was Captain Elias Rourke, a liaison sent from the United Terran Republic, humanity's fragile foothold in the Galactic Council. He wasn't supposed to interfere. Humans were tolerated in Avarian space, nothing more. But something in his expression caught her attention, not pity, but anger. When Serath's knees buckled and she fell, the nobles roared with laughter again. And Elias moved. Before anyone could stop him, he stepped into the arena, boots crunching on the pale sand. The crowd fell silent. What are you doing? Hissed a nearby guard. Elias ignored him. He crossed the distance and knelt beside Serath. His shadow fell over her broken armor as he extended a hand. You've had enough, he said quietly. Stand up. Serath stared at him, stunned. Around them, the nobles began to murmur, a human touching an Avarian noble? Unthinkable. The Chancellor's voice thundered from above, remove him. Guards rushed forward, but Serath lifted her gaze and met Elias's eyes, brown and human, but steady as iron. Something within her stirred, something that had lain dormant since her disgrace. And then, she took his hand. Middle, the outcasts. That single act ignited chaos. Elias was arrested and thrown into a containment cell. The Avarian Council demanded his execution for interference in internal matters. The Terran embassy protested. Galactic channels lit up with scandal, human defies Avarian law for fallen noble. But Serath couldn't stop thinking about him. 3 days later, she was dragged to a groundborn outpost, a mining colony beneath Avaris's shimmering towers. The air was thick with ash and oil. Once, she had commanded ships that could burn worlds, now she shoveled or under the weight of the Empire's contempt. And yet, every time she lifted her eyes to the twin suns, she saw that human's face, that moment when he offered his hand. One night, as storm winds howled through the settlement, alarms began to wail. The mines were collapsing. A fusion core had overloaded. Groundborn fled in terror as the tunnels caved in. Serath turned to run, then froze. A voice crackled through her comm implant. If anyone can hear this, move to Sector 4. I've got survivors trapped near the reactor shaft. Her heart skipped. That voice, human. She sprinted through collapsing corridors and found him, Elias, covered in soot, hauling miners out of a burning shaft. His uniform was torn, his face streaked with grime, but his eyes burned with that same defiance. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, helping him lift a wounded groundborn. "Couldn't sit around waiting for diplomats," he said. "They released me into observation. I escaped." "You're insane." "Maybe. But you're still a soldier." Something flickered in her, a spark of the commander she once was. Together, they rallied the survivors, redirected coolant lines, and stabilized the reactor just minutes before detonation. When the dust settled, the groundborn, the forgotten slaves of the Empire, stared at the pair with awe. A disgraced noble and a forbidden human had saved them all. That night, as they rested beneath the broken dome of the mining camp, Serath looked at Elias and said softly, "You shamed me." He blinked. "What?" "You made me remember who I used to be." Elias smiled faintly. "You didn't need me for that. You just needed someone to remind you." For a long time, neither spoke. The stars shimmered above, cold, distant, and watching. Rising action, a rebellion ignites. Word spread. In the Empire's shadows, whispers grew, the fallen noble lives. The human stands with her. Groundborn began to organize. Forgotten colonies raised banners. They called themselves the Unbound, and their symbol, a human hand lifting an Avarian blade, spread like wildfire across the stars. The Avarian Council panicked. They dispatched fleets to hunt them down. The Chancellor declared Serath and Elias enemies of the crown. But the two had already gone too far to turn back. Aboard a stolen corvette, they forged an unlikely alliance: humans, outcasts, alien defectors, all bound by a single idea: no empire should stand on the backs of the broken. Elias leaned over the holographic map one night as Serath studied the imperial sectors. "We're outnumbered 10-1, he said. "Try 50, Serath replied dryly. "But we have something they don't." "What's that?" "Nothing left to lose." They launched hit-and-run raids, freeing groundborn camps, hijacking supply convoys. The Empire's nobles were humiliated again and again by a fallen Avarian and her human ally. Their names became legend in the underworld, a whispered promise: even the mighty can bleed. Climax, before the stars. Eventually, the Empire cornered them above Veyra 9, a barren moon of obsidian dust. The Avarian fleet, 200 ships strong, surrounded their single corvette. Serath stood on the bridge, hands steady on the console. Elias looked at her. "We can't fight that." "No," she said. "But we can make them see." She opened a transmission to every channel in the system. Across the Empire, citizens, slaves, soldiers all saw her face flicker to life. "I am Serath Veyra," she declared, voice echoing through the cosmos. "You called me traitor. You stripped my name, my honor, my life. But you cannot erase truth. We are all bound by the same stars, and no crown, no empire, can own them." The Chancellor appeared on the opposing screen, his face twisted with rage. "You will burn for this." Serath looked at Elias and nodded.